So good afternoon, everybody. I would like to tell you my story of going to Silicon Valley, what I have learned there, and how it was. So let us start in the year 2011. In the year 2011, I realized that Polish entrepreneurship is broken. I found that there is very few very good companies, that there are no big exits. There is plenty of European money that had some positive influence on startups, but it also had a lot of negative consequences. And I started to think, what is the reason for such a state? Why this entrepreneurship in Poland is broken? And my answer, my thesis is that the problem is that Polish startup ecosystem is closed. By closed, I mean that people think only about local Polish market. Entrepreneurs look for investors in Poland, look for advisors in Poland, think about Polish customers, and that there is nothing bad about that, but at the same time, they do not feel to be a member of the global tech innovative community. So Polish ecosystem is closed and is disconnected with the global entrepreneurial ecosystem. It is what I saw. Of course, there are several exceptions, so of course it doesn't apply to everybody. So with this quite dim reflection, I decided that what I want to do is to make a bridge between Poland and the best. And now I would like to tell you this story. The story how the road that I have come through during the last 3 years. So, the first professional visit in Silicon Valley that I had, it was at the end of 2011, and I went to Silicon Valley with two entrepreneurs, with the founder of Presspad and the founder of Use It Better. It was quite a stressful experience. We didn't know whether people would like to talk with us and how it will be. But we started to send emails to the network that we know outside the valley and then to the valley. Then we start to make meetings. Then the entrepreneurs started to pitch to these people. And finally, they started to get feedback. And at this moment, I simply fell in love with this place. Simply the density of the technological competence, of the technological knowledge is simply amazing. It is really a place that one can learn from. At this trip, the takeaways that we had there were several, but I would like to mention 2 of them. The first one is the networking. How to do it to really get feedback. There are a couple of elements I would like to mention. The first one is that you have to be interesting. You have to present ideas that are interesting. The second thing is that you should be respectful to the way how it works over there. And the third is that you have to pay back. Not in money, but in something else, in some opportunity, in some, anything. And even more, you should pay forward, as it is in that culture. The second takeaway is about the leader. At the same time, when I was there, I started to build a checklist of elements that, in my opinion, are necessary to get funded in Silicon Valley. So the first point on this list was the leader. The leader, it is quite different in Europe and in the States. So first thing, the leader there has to be passionate about what this person is doing. The second thing is that the leader has to be competent. So all the homeworks that could be done, the leader has to do. So there is no, I mean, if the leader can check something, it should be checked. If not, he's not professional, he's not competent enough. And the third thing that is extremely important is that the leader has to communicate well. So I'm seeing it over and over again, that people are pitching and simply they are not understood by the other side. So the leader, if you want to go to the States, the leader has to behave in different way that it is in Poland or in Europe. Okay, so it was the first visit was over. It took another 3 months, and I went for the second time to San Francisco and to the Valley. This time, I went with founders of UXPin and of Shirley. And we received tons of feedback. There were 2 major takeaways during this trip. The first one was about big vision, and the second one was about the product. So, on my checklist, another 2 elements appeared. The first, big vision. So, in the States, in the Valley, not in the States, in the Valley, it is like that everybody is changing the world. At first, it was somehow strange for me. Everybody, the question was coming back again and again, how will you build $1 billion company? At first, the reaction of the entrepreneurs, I went, why to build $1 billion company? It's enough to build a smaller one. But it works differently in that world. Either you do something really important, or it is not worth their attention, and it is not worth their money. The other way to say about big vision, you can tell about it in more business terms. The question about big vision is a question about the size of the market, and it is a question about the competitive advantage. So how big is the market you want to sell to, and what is your competitive advantage? Is there any chance that you will keep this competitive advantage long term? And the second element that we learned at this visit is about product. By product, I understand 3 things: customer, problem, solution. So the first question, who is your customer? Be precise. Be really precise. You can have just a little niche, but it has to be really precise who you want to address. The second element of that is problem. Are you a painkiller? Do you produce a painkiller or just vitamins? Do you solve really important question? And the third, whether your solution really will solve that problem. So if you are not precise about, if you are not laser focused about what value you deliver and who will buy your product, you will not succeed. If you don't provide a solution that solves an important problem, you will not succeed. So it is quite strict and quite serious about that. So my checklist contain 3 elements at that time: leader, big vision, and product. And then came the next visit. And at this visit, we discovered, or we somehow saw, that there is one thing that makes magic, and this thing is traction. Some people say that traction solves everything. If you have traction, you don't need anything else. I don't quite agree with that. It is a quite strong opinion, but it is true. Traction is the element that is really necessary to get funded. And by traction, there is also very concrete benchmarks. You should grow 20% every month. That's it. 20% every month or 7% every week, whatever you choose. It's not the traction for consumer product that is free. It's a couple of thousand people is not traction. It is just, it's not considered as traction. So traction is really important. Well, we've got 4 elements, and at that time, one of the company that we invested in, UXPin, decided that they want to go to the next level, to the next stage of this adventure. So they decided about fundraising in the US. They were quite well prepared. So in February last year, UXPin had a great leader. They had very reasonable big vision. The product was quite good, and there was traction. The company was really growing 20% every month. So they hoped that it will be very, very fast and that it will go very smoothly. It wasn't like that. It was quite difficult road. Last couple of months I spent in San Francisco, so I would compare this journey to the streets of San Francisco. And it seemed that it is always uphill, and it was very steep road. But on the other side, from every hill you climbed, the view was really spectacular. So they started fundraising. I assisted them with some introductions, but it was their job. And in this fundraising, the leader learned a lot. He really became a better business person after these dozens of talks with investors. The big vision, what is funny, changed 3 times. So it really changed. They saw after a couple of meetings that the big vision that they had is not good enough. So they changed, and it happened 3 times. The product also changed in the sense that they changed how they looked at their product. They changed what is really important in what do they produce, and they even changed the segment that they address. Fortunately, the traction was very good at the whole period, and the company was growing 20% month by month. But it was not enough. There were 3 more elements that they learned that they should have to satisfy the requirements that are typical to get funded. These 3 elements is roadmap, team, and credibility. So I was quite interested in that because I could add another 3 points to my checklist. So roadmap. So there are these questions. Where your company will be in 12 months' time? When the company will be in the next 3 months? What are the essential milestones that are ahead of you? When do you plan the financing events? What arguments for the investors will you have at that time to get financing? The second, the team. So entrepreneurship is not a solo game. You have to have a team. You have to know what skills you need to build the company, and you should have most of the skills in the company. You may have some people needed, but it should be very precise. And the third thing, credibility. If you raise money in Silicon Valley, the first question is, are you based in Silicon Valley? Then the next question is, what people do you know that we know, so that we could ask them about you? There are also other ways to increase your credibility. But credibility is the 7th element that is, in my opinion, necessary to get funded in Silicon Valley. And the finish line was that after 8 painstaking months, UXPin raced around with really great investors, such as Gil Pencina, Andreessen and Horowitz, and Freestyle VC. So this adventure that has started 2.5 years ago, half a year ago, it was completed with the success for this company that we were very proud of because we invested in this company. Now I would like to share with you what I have learned in Silicon Valley. The first thing is I have an opinion about whether it is worth going to Silicon Valley and how to do it and why to do it. So I think that there are 2 options. The first option, what I call light model, is that you travel there for 2 things, for the feedback and for know-how. So you simply go there to learn there. The second option is more hardcore option, and it means that you see the future of your company in the Silicon Valley. So you go for feedback and for know-how. You create team there, you hire people there. Very important element, you start selling there. So your sales are from the US clients. And the last one is financing and eventually the exit that is made in that market. You can do the first option and the second option in different ways. As far as the first one is concerned, in my opinion, it's enough to go for 2 weeks. But you have to prepare for such trip really, really well. So it is worth to go there for such a short period of time, provided that you have lots of meetings that will give you feedback. So again, you have to research. You have to look for people who you want to meet. You have to look to your network to get recommendations to people that might be useful to you. But if you go just 2 weeks, and it is a well-prepared trip, it really changes your mind. It really makes you a better entrepreneur. The option 2, the hardcore option, again, it is quite tricky and it needs a huge commitment on the side of entrepreneur. But in companies that want to be really global, that want to be really big, the companies that see that they will need huge investments as they grow, it's the place to be. It is the capital of the world, of the technological world. The second thing that I learned is this checklist that I showed you. After all, it's quite simple. If you have these 7 elements, not 3 of them, not 5 of them by 70%, but if you have all of them, then the conversation with investors is a piece of cake. Because everybody wants to invest in you, because you are simply a good company. If you are missing these elements, it's not good. And here I would like to make an appeal to Polish and in general to European startups. Please be professional. Please be very good at these 7 points. And I would, as an investor, I would like to make a promise, a public promise, that we will invest in companies with the valuations as in Silicon Valley. We will do anything we can to help the company grow. We will even buy you cakes and beer. But please, deliver these 7 elements in a professional way. At the very end, I would like to share my dream with you. So, my dream is that there will be 10 great Polish-American companies within the next 2 years. So far, we've got 3 Polish companies that get funded in the Silicon Valley. Okay, 4 companies like that. I would be happy if it is 10. Because in my opinion, when there will be 10, it will be a disruption. It will be the new perspective. The new era will start. The motivation of the entrepreneurs will change. People will start to believe that they can achieve real success. And I would like to finish with this. Let's have 10 really great Polish-American companies within the next 2 years. Thank you.
And of course I have time for questions for Piotr. So who wants to take a stab at it? And again, I cannot see anything because of that pink light on me. Very nice. No questions yet? Okay, so think 2 minutes and I'll have one for you. So 10 great Polish startups go to the US. That's great. Then how do you think can these kind of spark the disruption back here in Poland?
Okay, I didn't add an important element, that it's not about the exporting of companies. It's about companies that keep in touch with the local ecosystem. So it is exporting engineers one way, but on the other hand, it is importing an important know-how. So I imagine that these entrepreneurs who succeed, they still help. They come here from time to time. They speak at conferences. They meet with people. And then it will really make the change.
Actually, that's the answer that I was actually looking for. Because what I've seen in ecosystems around the world that seems to be working is that you have serial entrepreneurs, with the entrepreneurs, they come back physically. Sometimes they invest, sometimes they mentor, sometimes so this is the kind of virtuous circle that happens that actually helps the local ecosystems flowing back and forth from the US. I still have time for one more question before we move on to Chris. So I see a hand just in front, so please. And again, state your name, even if you're already done so.
My name is Alex from Proxy Tasks. I have a question regarding one of the checklist items, the team, because I have a feeling you did it a bit more shallow than other things. Is there some, I don't know, common pattern of mistakes, of errors?
Okay, so
Polish.
Yeah, I will tell you. The team dynamics may look very differently, and in some cases, it is very strong leader, and other people who who are not quite co-founders, but who are rather employees of the company. They might even have shares, but they simply have a role of employees, and it doesn't work because startup, as it grows, it has a lot of challenges, and there are no simple answers to them. And what the experience shows that it is very difficult for a single person to simply cope with it. And because of that, there is this concept of team of co-founders. I said something slightly different at the presentation. I stressed a different element. I said about skills, but what is also very important. But now I want to tell about this co-founder dynamics. So if you have a couple of questions and you have a couple of challenges, then you can discuss it with each other and you can make decisions. If you are on your own and you have just people who are employed, it is really difficult to do that.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you. Yeah, we have time for one more, so please, there's this gentleman on the side over there. Yes, thank you. Please state your name. Thank you.
Hi, I'm Paul. Pleased to meet you.
Great name.
Pavel is one of the heroes of this story. Yeah.
Oh, what am I really? So how am I supposed to deal with how are we supposed to deal with the credibility? The rest of the checklist seems kind of obvious. The credibility may be the toughest one, I figure.
I mean, it depends on the company. And it depends on the situation. So, for example, with UX Pin, Marcin Treder is a UX designer, and he's known in the community of the UX designers. So, and before fundraising, he networked. He asked for feedback. Really top UX designers, and it helped. Because after that, when these VCs, when these investors wanted to check him, they got some feedback. Yeah, we know this guy. He's very reasonable. The second thing, what you can do is to have a board of advisors. So it also helps if they are the people who are well known. The third element is the local investor. In general, local investor helps because it shows that somebody else believed in your idea before. If the local investor has credibility, it obviously also helps. The last thing that I would mention is that you can do two-tier fundraising. So you first may have 2 or 3 angels, but smart money angels who invest not much, 20K or something like that. And then when you start fundraising after half a year, there is some history. There is some history to relate to the company.
Awesome,
I will add that I think one of the big success of the Silicon Valley that everybody kind of adores and worships is, besides the money and everything, it's also this kind of network of cross-validation that happens very, very quickly between the media, between investors, between advisory, even if there's a kind of a way too many advisors nowadays. But at the end, this is also that you can validate someone pretty quickly. And it's true that in emerging ecosystems, it's much harder. And I would say that it's more an art than science in those markets. It's a lot about personal connections.
But about media, if you have publications on TechCrunch, it helps. If you won Launch Festival or South by, it helps. If you are a YC company or any actually accelerator, you went through a program, it also helps because it helps with credibility. Still, there is the other 6 elements are necessary, so it's not enough to go to any accelerator to get funded, but it helps with this element.
Yeah, and it's sometimes unfair. Thank you so much, Piotr. Thank you very much. It was very valuable. Thank you.